It was a super quiet afternoon in our little neighborhood. The sun was shining bright in the sky, making everything look warm and happy. Birds were chirping their little songs, hopping from tree to tree. And there on my front porch was my big old dog Max. He was snoozing away, sprawled out like he owned the whole place. Max isn't just any dog, though. He's a retired police dog, a K9, which means he used to help the cops catch bad guys. He's tough as nails, super strong and brave, but he's also sweet as pie. He loves belly rubs and treats, and he's my best buddy. Me, I'm just Jake. I'm a regular guy who likes things calm and quiet. I don't like drama or loud stuff. I just want to chill with Max and enjoy my day. But that piece, yeah, it wasn't going to stick around for long, not with her living nearby. See, in our neighborhood, we've got this group called the HOA, Homeowners Association. It's supposed to make sure everyone follows the rules, like keeping yards neat. But there's this one lady in the HOA who's a real pain. We all call her HOA Karen. She's the kind of person who'd grab a ruler and measure your grass just to see if it's too long. Then she'd complain about it, even if it's just a tiny bit over the rules. She loves bossing people around and acting like she's in charge of everything. And that day, oh boy, she had her eyes locked on Max. Now Max was just lying there, sleeping like a big furry log. His paws were stretched out and his tongue was flopped to the side. He wasn't bothering anybody. The birds didn't care, the sun didn't care, I didn't care. But Karen, she cared a lot, too much if you ask me. She didn't like seeing Max on the porch. Maybe she thought he was too big or too scary looking. Maybe she just didn't like dogs, I don't know. But she was about to make a big fuss over nothing, and it was going to turn our quiet day into something wild. Here's the thing though, Karen didn't know who she was messing with. Not yet. Max isn't just some random dog. He's got a past. He's a hero. He used to run around with police officers, sniffing out trouble and keeping people safe. He's got medals and everything. And me, I might seem like a quiet guy, but I've got Max's back. We're a team. Karen didn't have a clue about any of that. She thought she could just march over and tell us what to do. Boy, was she in for a surprise. So picture this, it's a perfect day. The kind where you just want to sit outside with a cold drink and watch the clouds float by. Max is dreaming about chasing squirrels or eating a giant bone. I don't know what dogs dream about, but he looked happy. I was inside for a minute, grabbing a snack, when I heard her voice. That loud, bossy voice that makes your stomach twist. It was Karen. She was already outside, stomping toward my house. I peeked out the window and saw her standing there, hands on her hips, staring at Max like he'd done something awful. He hadn't. He was just sleeping. But Karen didn't care about facts. She cared about rules, her rules. I stepped out onto the porch, trying to stay calm. "Hey, Karen," I said, keeping my voice nice and easy. "What's up?" She didn't even look at me at first. She just kept glaring at Max. Then she pointed at him and said, "That dog shouldn't be out here." Her voice was sharp, like she was yelling at a kid who broke something. I blinked. Max didn't move. He just kept snoring, his big chest going up and down. "He's just sleeping," I told her. "He's not hurting anyone." But Karen shook her head, her lips all tight and angry. "It's against the rules," she snapped. "I'm going to fix this." "Rules? What rules?" Max wasn't barking or running around. He wasn't digging holes or chasing her cat if she even has one. He was just a good dog taking a nap, but Karen didn't see it that way. To her, Max was a problem, a big furry problem she wanted gone. She pulled out her phone, holding it up like it was a weapon. I knew what was coming. She was going to call someone, probably the cops, over a sleeping dog. Can you believe that? I almost laughed, but I didn't. I just stood there, watching her get all worked up. Now let me tell you a little more about Max. He's not small. He's a big dog with strong legs and a loud bark when he needs it. His fur is black and tan, and his ears perk up when he hears something interesting. But most of the time, he's chill. He's retired now, so he doesn't chase bad guys anymore. He just hangs out with me. We go for walks, play fetch, and sometimes he sits on the porch to watch the world go by. Everyone in the neighborhood knows Max. Kids pet him. Old ladies give him treats. He's like the king of the street. Everyone loves him except Karen. Karen's different. She's got short hair that's always perfect, and she wears these bright shirts that hurt your eyes. She's loud too. You can hear her from 3 houses away when she's mad, and she's always mad about something. One time she yelled at my neighbor Tim because his mailbox was the wrong color. Another time she told Mrs. Lopez her flowers were too tall. Too tall, who cares about that? But that's Karen. She's got a rule for everything, and if you don't follow it, she flips out. That day, though, she picked the wrong fight. Max wasn't just any dog, and I wasn't just any guy. See, I've got a friend named Tom. He's a cop, a real one. He used to work with Max back when Max was on the police force. They were partners, sniffing out clues and catching crooks together. Tom's a big guy with a deep voice, and he's super nice unless you're breaking the law. He was actually at my house that day inside grabbing a soda. Karen didn't know that. She didn't see his police car parked out front because she was too busy staring at Max. She thought she was about to win, but she was so wrong. I leaned against the porch railing, watching her dial her phone. She was muttering to herself, saying stuff like, "This is ridiculous, and people need to learn their place." I didn't say anything. I just let her keep going. Max twitched an ear like he heard her, but he didn't wake up. He was too comfy. The sun was warm, the breeze was soft, and he was in doggy heaven. Karen, though, she was in her own little world, thinking she was about to ruin our day. She had no idea what was waiting for her. So that's where it all started. A quiet afternoon, a sleeping dog, and a nosy neighbor who couldn't mind her own business. It sounds simple, right? But it's about to get crazy. Karen thought she was in control, but she didn't know the truth about Max or about me. She didn't know that her big plan was going to fall apart in the funniest way. Want to know what happens next? Stick around, because this story's just getting started. Oh, and before we keep going, I've got a quick question for you. Where are you watching from today? Are you at home, at school, or somewhere else? Drop it in the comments. I'm super curious. And if you like stories like this, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming. Trust me, you're going to love how this turns out. Let's keep going. Karen's about to make her move, and it's going to be wild. Karen came stomping over to my house like she was on a big mission. Her shoes slapped the ground hard, and her face was all scrunched up, mad as could be. She had her phone in her hand, holding it tight like it was her best friend. She stopped right in front of my porch and glared at Max. Oh boy, if looks could hurt, Max would have been in big trouble. She stared at him like he'd just robbed a bank or eaten her favorite cake. "That beast shouldn't be out here," she barked, her voice loud and sharp. She pointed at Max with one finger like he was some kind of monster. Max, he didn't even move, not one bit. He just kept snoring away, his big chest going up and down, up and down. His eyes were closed, and his tongue was hanging out a little, flopped over to the side. He was dreaming about something nice, maybe chasing a ball or eating a big juicy bone. Whatever it was, he didn't care about Karen, not even a tiny bit. He was too busy sleeping to notice her yelling. I heard all the noise and stepped outside. The sun felt warm on my face, but Karen's shouting made everything feel tense. I looked at her, then at Max, and said, "He's just sleeping, Karen, he's not hurting anyone." My voice was calm and easy, like I was talking to a friend. I didn't want to fight, I just wanted her to see that Max was no problem. He was just a big, lazy dog taking a nap on my porch. That's it. But Karen, oh no, she wasn't having it. Not at all. She didn't listen to me. She didn't care what I said. She puffed up her chest, making herself look bigger, like a bird fluffing its feathers. Her eyes got narrow and her lips got tight. Then she snapped at me loud and fast, "I'm calling the cops. This is against the rules." Her words hit the air like a slap, and she waved her phone around like it was a magic wand that could fix everything. I stood there looking at her, and I tried so hard not to laugh. I really did. It was funny, though, her getting all worked up over a sleeping dog. Rules? What rule? Max wasn't doing anything wrong. He wasn't barking or running around or chewing up her flowers. He was just lying there snoozing in the sunshine. Max was a hero dog, you know. He used to work with the police, sniffing out trouble and helping catch bad guys. He'd been doing that for years before he retired. If anyone was breaking rules, it was Karen. She was being so loud, yelling and stomping around like that. She was the one making a fuss, not Max. But Karen didn't see it that way. Nope, in her mind, she was the boss of everything. She thought she was the queen of the street, the ruler of our little neighborhood. She loved telling people what to do. If your grass was too long, she'd tell you to cut it. If your trash can was out too early, she'd knock on your door and complain. And now she thought Max being on the porch was some big crime. She didn't know anything about him, how brave he was, how good he was. To her, he was just a beast that didn't belong. I watched her as she started tapping on her phone. Her fingers moved fast, like she couldn't wait to call the cops. She was muttering to herself, saying stuff like, "This is ridiculous, and people need to follow the rules." I leaned against the porch railing, my arms crossed, just waiting to see what she'd do next. Max twitched an ear like maybe he heard her, but he didn't wake up. He was too comfy, too happy in his little doggy dream world. The birds kept chirping and the breeze kept blowing, but Karen was like a storm cloud ruining the nice day. Here's the thing, though, Karen didn't know something big. She didn't know that trouble was already closer than she thought. See, my friend Tom was at my house. Tom's a cop, a real one. He's tall and strong, with a deep voice that makes you listen. He used to work with Max back when Max was a police dog. They were a team, running around together, keeping the streets safe. Tom was inside my house right then, grabbing a soda from the fridge. He'd parked his police car out front earlier, but Karen didn't notice. She was too busy staring at Max and getting mad. She didn't see the car. She didn't know Tom was there. She thought she was about to win this fight, but oh boy, she was so wrong. Karen held her phone up to her ear now, waiting for someone to answer. She paced back and forth in front of my porch, her shoes making little thumps on the ground. "Yes, hello," she said when someone picked up. Her voice was loud and bossy. There's a dangerous dog on a porch. You need to send someone right now. Dangerous, Max. I almost snorted out loud. Max wasn't dangerous. He was a hero. He'd saved people, helped the police, and now he was just resting. But Karen didn't care about that. She just wanted him gone. I stayed quiet, watching her. I could have told her to stop. I could have said, "Hey, Karen, chill out." But I didn't. I let her keep going. It was kind of funny seeing her so sure of herself. She thought the cops would come racing over, lights flashing, to take Max away. She thought she'd get her way like she always did. But she didn't know the truth. She didn't know that Max wasn't just any dog. She didn't know that Tom was already here, sipping a soda inside. She didn't know that her big plan was about to fall apart. The tension was building up, like when you're waiting for something exciting to happen. Karen was all puffed up, thinking she was in charge. Max was still sleeping, not a care in the world. And me, I was just standing there knowing something she didn't. It felt like a secret, a little spark of fun waiting to burst out. Karen's voice got louder as she talked on the phone. "Yes, it's a big dog," she said. "It's not safe. Hurry up." She kept pointing at Max, even though he hadn't moved an inch. I wondered what the person on the phone was thinking. Did they believe her? Did they think Max was some wild animal? I glanced at the front door behind me. Tom was in there, probably hearing all this. I could picture him shaking his head, maybe laughing a little. He knew Max better than anyone. They'd been through so much together, chasing bad guys, finding clues, keeping people safe. Tom would never let anyone take Max away. Neither would I. We were a team, the three of us. Karen didn't have a clue about that. She thought she was the smartest person around, but she was about to look so silly. The air felt thick with her yelling. The nice, quiet day was gone now, replaced by Karen's big, loud show. She kept packing, her phone pressed to her ear, her free hand waving around. "I'm serious," she said. "This is an emergency." An emergency over a sleeping dog. It was hard to keep a straight face. Max let out a little snore and I had to bite my lip to stop from giggling. He was so peaceful, so calm, while Karen was losing her mind. She didn't stop though. She kept going, telling the person on the phone all about how awful Max was. "He's huge," she said. "He doesn't belong here." I wanted to tell her, "He belongs here more than you do." But I didn't. I just waited. The longer she talked, the madder she got. Her face was turning red and her eyes were wide. She looked like a cartoon character about to pop. It was wild. And all the while, trouble was right there, closer than she knew. Tom was just a few steps away inside my house. His police car was parked out front, plain as day if she'd bothered to look. But she didn't. She was too busy being loud and bossy. She thought she was winning, but she was about to lose in the funniest way. The tension was growing and I couldn't wait to see her face when she figured it out. This was going to be good. Karen was ready to make her big move. She grabbed her phone and dialed 911 right there in front of my house. She didn't even wait a second. She started packing back and forth, her feet stomping on the ground like she was in some huge drama movie. You know, the kind where people yell and cry and act all crazy. That was Karen. She held the phone up to her ear and shouted, "Yes, hello." Her voice was so loud I bet the birds stopped singing just to listen. "There's a dangerous dog on a porch. Send someone now." She sounded like she was calling about a monster or a robber, not my sleepy Max. I didn't say a word. I just leaned against the door, my arms crossed, watching her. She looked silly, waving her arms and talking so fast. I could have told her to calm down, but nah, I let her keep going. It was like watching a show, a funny one where the person doesn't know they're the joke. Max, he heard her, I think. He opened one eye just a little, like he was checking what all the noise was about. Then he let out a big yawn, showing all his teeth, and flopped his head back down. Back to sleep he went, snoring again. He didn't care about Karen or her yelling, not one bit. Here's the funny part, the really good part. I had a buddy over at my house earlier. His name's Tom and he's a cop, a real cop with a badge and everything. Tom used to work with Max way back when Max was a police dog. They were partners, the best team ever. They'd run around together, sniffing out bad guys and keeping the streets safe. Tom was still inside my house right then, grabbing a soda from my fridge. He'd been there for a while, just hanging out with me and Max. Karen didn't know that, though. She didn't see him pull up in his patrol car earlier. Why? Because she was too busy spying on my yard, staring at Max like he was some big problem. Tom's patrol car was parked right out front. It's white with blue letters that say police on the side. It's got those flashy lights on top, too, the kind that spin and make noise when cops are on a chase. Anyone could have seen it if they looked, but Karen, nope, she didn't look. She was too caught up in her own little world, packing and yelling into her phone. She thought she was so smart, calling the cops on us. She had no idea one was already here, sipping a soda just a few steps away. Karen kept going, ranting and raving like she was the boss of everything. She said stuff like, "People like you don't belong here." Her voice was sharp and she pointed at me when she said it. I didn't get mad though, I just smiled. Yup, I smiled right at her. Why? Because she didn't know what was coming. She thought she was winning, but she was about to look so dumb. It was like a secret I had and I couldn't wait for her to find out. She kept talking on the phone, her words spilling out fast. "Yes, it's a big dog," she said. "He's dangerous, he's on the porch and it's not okay." I wanted to laugh out loud. Dangerous, Max. The only thing Max was dangerous to was a bowl of dog food. He'd eat it all in 2 seconds flat. But to Karen, he was some wild beast that needed to go. She didn't know he was a hero. She didn't know he'd helped the police for years. She didn't know anything about him, really. All she saw was a big dog sleeping where she didn't want him to be. I glanced at Max. He was still snoozing, his paws twitching a little like he was dreaming about running. Maybe he was chasing a squirrel in his sleep. Who knows? He looked so peaceful, so happy. The sun was shining on his fur, making it look all shiny and soft. He didn't have a care in the world. Meanwhile, Karen was acting like the sky was falling. "Hurry up," she yelled into the phone. "This is serious, serious." I almost snorted. The only serious thing here was how loud she was being. Inside, I could hear the fridge door shut. That was Tom finishing up in the kitchen. I knew he'd come out soon, but I didn't say anything. I just kept watching Karen. She was packing faster now, her shoes making little thumps on the grass. Her face was getting redder, like she was a balloon about to pop. "I'm tired of this," she said to the person on the phone. "People need to follow the rule. Rules, rules, rules." That's all she ever talked about. She loved rules more than anything, I think. But here's a little secret she didn't see coming. Max wasn't just my pet, he was a star. Back when he worked with Tom, he was the best K9 around. He could sniff out anything, hidden stuff, lost people, you name it. He'd even gotten medals for being so brave. I had them hanging on my wall inside, little shiny awards that proved how awesome he was. Karen didn't know that. To her, he was just a beast. She didn't know he'd saved lives. She didn't know he was tougher and smarter than she'd ever be. And Tom, he was another surprise she didn't expect. He's a big guy, taller than me, with a deep voice that makes you pay attention. He's nice though, always smiling and joking around. Unless you're a bad guy, then he's super serious. He loved Max like a brother. They'd been through so much together. Tom was here just to visit, to hang out and relax. He didn't know Karen was about to drag him into her silly drama. But he was about to step out, and when he did, everything would change. Karen kept talking, her voice getting louder and louder. "Yes, I'm at 123 Oak Street," she said. "You need to send someone fast." She gave them my address like she was so sure the cops would come running. I leaned back a little more, still smiling. Max let out another snore, a big one this time. It was so loud I thought it might wake him up, but nope, he just kept sleeping. Karen glared at him again like his snoring was a crime too. "See," she said into the phone. "He's a problem." I could hear footsteps inside now. Tom was coming closer to the door. I didn't look back though. I kept my eyes on Karen. She was still packing, still yelling. "I want this taken care of," she said. "I'm not putting up with this anymore." She sounded so mad, so sure she was right, but she was about to find out just how wrong she was. The funny thing is, she could have stopped. She could have looked around, seen Tom's car, and figured it out. But she didn't. She was too busy being loud and bossy. She didn't notice the little clues like the police car or the way I wasn't worried at all. She thought she had all the power, but she didn't. The real power was with Max, sleeping like a king, and Tom, about to walk out and surprise her. Karen hung up the phone finally, shoving it into her pocket. She crossed her arms and stared at me, her eyes all narrow and mean. "The cops are coming," she said, like it was a big threat. "You'll see," I nodded, still smiling. "Okay, Karen," I said. My voice was calm, almost friendly. She didn't like that. She wanted me to be scared or mad, but I knew something she didn't, and it was making this whole thing so much fun. The air felt buzzy now, like something big was about to happen. Karen stood there, waiting, thinking she'd won. Max kept sleeping, dreaming his happy dreams. And me, I just waited too, knowing Tom was about to step out. Karen had no idea what was coming, but I did. It was going to be the best part yet. The front door made a little creaky sound as it opened. I turned my head just a bit, and there he was, Tom, stepping out onto the porch. He was wearing his full police uniform, all neat and blue, with a shiny badge on his chest. In his hand, he held a soda can, the kind with bubbles that fizz when you open it. He took a sip, then looked around. "What's the problem here?" he said. His voice was calm but strong, like he meant business. It wasn't loud or mean, just steady, the kind of voice that makes you stop and listen. Karen froze. Her eyes got big and her mouth fell open so fast I thought it might hit the ground. She looked like a fish, all surprised and gulping for air. She tried to talk, but it came out all shaky. I called about the dog," she stammered, pointing at Max with a wobbly finger. Max was still lying there, snoozing away. He didn't even twitch. The sun was shining on his fur and he looked like the happiest dog in the world. Karen's voice sounded funny, like she couldn't believe what she was seeing. Tom tilted his head and looked at Max. Then he looked back at Karen. "That dog," he said, pointing at Max with his soda can. "That's Max. He's a retired K9. He paused for a second, letting that sink in. "He's probably saved more lives than you've got complaints." His words were simple, but they hit hard. He wasn't yelling or being rude, he was just telling the truth. Max was a hero, and Tom knew it better than anyone. Karen's face changed fast. It turned red, redder than a big ripe tomato. Her cheeks puffed out and her eyes got all squinty. She opened her mouth to say something, anything, but it didn't come out right. But she sputtered, tripping over her words like they were toys on the floor. She wanted to make an excuse to explain why she'd called 911 over a sleeping dog. But Tom didn't let her finish. He held up one hand, the one not holding the soda, and shook his head. "Ma'am," he said, "I am the cops, and I was already here, so what's your emergency?" Oh boy, the look on Karen's face was the best thing ever. Priceless, like a picture you'd want to keep forever. Her eyes went wide again and her mouth flapped open and shut, open and shut. She didn't know what to say. She called the cops, thinking they'd come racing over to take Max away. But here was Tom, a real cop, standing right in front of her. He'd been here the whole time and she didn't even know it. Her big plan, it was falling apart and she couldn't do a thing about it. I stood there trying not to laugh. It was so hard to keep a straight face. Karen thought she was so smart, so in charge. She thought she could boss me and Max around, make us follow her silly rules. But now, she looked like a kid who just dropped her ice cream on the ground. All her yelling, all her packing, it didn't matter anymore. Tom was here and he wasn't on her side, he was on ours. Karen tried to talk again. I didn't mean, I just thought, she said, her voice all quiet now. She wasn't yelling anymore, she wasn't packing, she just stood there looking smaller than before. Tom took another sip of his soda and waited. He didn't say anything, just watched her with his calm eyes. That made it worse for her, I think. She wanted him to argue or get mad, but he didn't. He just stood there, cool as could be. Max finally moved a little. He lifted his head, blinked a couple times, and looked at Tom. His tail gave a tiny wag like he was saying, "Hey, good to see you." Then he put his head back down and closed his eyes again. Even with all this going on, Max wasn't worried. He knew Tom had it under control. I did too. That's why I wasn't scared or mad. I knew we'd be fine. Karen's hands dropped to her sides. She looked at Tom, then at Max, then at me. Her face was still red, but now it was more embarrassed than angry. She didn't know Max was a legend. She didn't know he'd worked with cops like Tom, sniffing out trouble and saving people. She didn't know he was a big deal, a real hero with medals and stories that could fill a book. To her, he was just a beast on my porch. And she didn't know I had friends like Tom, friends who'd back us up no matter what. Tom stepped forward a little, his boots making a soft thud on the porch. "So," he said, "is there an emergency or not?" His voice was still calm, but it had a little edge now, like he was done playing around. Karen shook her head fast. No, I guess not," she mumbled. She looked down at the ground, her shoulders all slumped. She didn't have anything left to say. Her big moment was over and it didn't go how she wanted. I couldn't hold it in anymore. A little chuckle slipped out, quiet but happy. Tom heard it and grinned at me just a tiny bit. We both knew what was up. Karen had walked right into this, thinking she'd win, but she didn't. She didn't know the truth about Max or about Tom being here already. She didn't know she'd picked the wrong fight. And now, standing there with her red face and quiet voice, she was figuring it out. The air felt lighter now, like the tension was popping like a balloon. Karen's loud words were gone and the birds were chirping again. Max's snores started up, soft and steady. Tom took another sip of his soda and leaned against the railing next to me. "Nice day, huh?" he said, like nothing big had just happened. I nodded. "Yup," I said, "real nice." Karen didn't say anything else. She just turned around, slow and stiff, and started walking back to her house. Her head was down and her steps were small. She didn't look like the queen of the street anymore. She looked like someone who'd made a big mistake and knew it. Tom watched her go, then looked at Max. "Good boy," he said, his voice soft. Max's tail wagged again, just once, like he heard it in his sleep. That was it, the big moment. Karen thought she'd get us in trouble, but instead she got a surprise she'd never forget. Tom being there, Max being a hero, it all came out and she couldn't handle it. It was the best kind of win, the kind where you don't even have to fight, you just let the truth do the work. Karen stood there for a second, looking all small and quiet. She didn't know what to say after Tom shut her down. Then she mumbled something soft, like misunderstanding, her voice barely loud enough to hear. Her face was still red and her eyes were stuck on the ground. She turned around slow, like her feet didn't want to move, and shuffled back to her house. She looked funny, all slumped over like a dog with its tail between its legs. She didn't look back at us, not once. She just wanted to get away. Tom watched her go, then let out a little chuckle. It was a happy sound, like he thought the whole thing was silly. He bent down and gave Max a pat on the head. "Good boy," he said, his voice nice and warm. Max's tail wagged a little, even though he was still half asleep. He liked Tom a lot. They were old buddies from their police days. Tom stood back up and took a sip of his soda, grinning at me. We didn't need to say much. We both knew Karen got what she deserved. Word spread fast around the neighborhood, like super fast. By the time dinner rolled around, half the people on our street were talking about it. They were laughing about HOA Karen's big flop. Someone saw her yelling, someone else saw Tom step out, and soon everyone knew the story. "Did you hear about Karen and that dog?" they'd say, giggling over their plates. "She called the cops, but the cop was already there." It was the best kind of gossip, the kind where the loudmouth looks dumb and the good guys win. Karen didn't dare complain about Max again, not after that. She stayed quiet, keeping to herself. No more stomping over to my house, no more waving her phone around. She learned her lesson, I guess. She picked a fight with the wrong team, me, Max, and Tom, and it didn't go her way. The neighborhood was done with her bossy ways, at least for a while. Me and Max, we went right back to enjoying our porch. The sun was still out, the birds were singing, and everything felt calm again. I sat on the steps with a cold drink, and Max stretched out beside me, snoring like always. It was our spot, and no one was going to take it from us. The neighborhood finally saw Karen for what she was, a loudmouth who thought she could push everyone around. But she couldn't push us, not anymore. And Max, he just kept snoring, happy as ever. His big paws twitched a little, like he was dreaming about something fun, maybe chasing a ball or eating a treat, who knows. He didn't care about Karen or her rule. He was a hero dog and he'd earned his rest. We all saw it now and that felt good. Justice was served, and it was the best kind, quiet, simple, and sweet. Okay, so here's the thing, something cool I learned from all this. Sometimes, the people who act the toughest, like they're big and strong, are the ones who fall apart the fastest. Think about Karen. She came stomping over, yelling and waving her phone, acting like she was the boss of everything. She thought she was so tough, but when Tom showed up and told her the truth, she crumbled like a cookie. All her loud words and mean looks didn't help her. She ran off, quiet and embarrassed, because she wasn't as strong as she pretended to be. Then there's the other side, the ones who stay quiet, like Max and me. Max didn't bark or jump up when Karen got mad. He just kept sleeping, calm and happy. He didn't need to show off or make noise. He's got real strength inside him, the kind that comes from being brave and good. He's a hero dog who saved lives, and he doesn't have to prove it to anyone. Me too, I didn't yell back at Karen or get mad. I just waited, knowing the truth would come out. And it did. The quiet ones, the ones who don't make a big fuss, they're the ones with the real power. They don't need to shout about it, it just shows up when it's time. So next time someone tries to push you around or act all bossy, don't worry too much. Maybe they're loud like Karen, thinking they can scare you. But you can be like Max, stay cool, stay strong, and let the truth do the talking. The truth is like a big bark, it comes out loud and clear when you need it. It bites back at the bullies and shows everyone what's really going on. You don't have to fight or yell, just wait, be yourself, and the right thing will happen. That's what Max taught me, and it's pretty awesome. What do you think about that? Has a Karen ever messed with you? You know, someone who's all loud and mean for no reason. Maybe at school or in your neighborhood or even at the park. Tell me your story down below, I really want to hear it. It's fun to share and see how we all deal with those pushy people. And if you liked this story about Max and Karen, stick around. I'll see you in the next one. We've got more cool stuff coming, and I bet you'll love it. Keep being strong just like Max, and I'll talk to you soon. Let's keep going a little more because there's so much to think about here. Think about how Karen acted. She was so sure she was right. She thought calling the cops would fix everything, like she had all the answers. But she didn't stop to look around or ask questions. She didn't see Tom's police car or wonder why I wasn't scared. She just kept going, full speed ahead, until she hit a wall. That's what happens when you're too loud and too fast. You miss stuff. You trip over your own feet and end up looking silly. Max, though, he's the opposite. He doesn't rush or fuss. He's chill even when things get crazy. That's a big lesson right there. When stuff gets tough, you don't always have to jump up and make noise. Sometimes sitting still and being yourself is the best way to win. Max didn't need to bark at Karen. He didn't need to prove he was a hero. He just was, and that was enough. Tom showing up just made it clear to everyone else. You can do that too. Maybe someone's being mean to you, telling you what to do or saying you're not good enough. You don't have to shout back or get upset. You can just keep being you, strong and quiet like Max. The truth about who you are will come out, and the loudmouths will figure it out eventually. They'll see they can't push you around, just like Karen couldn't push us. And hey, speaking of that, let's think about Tom for a second. He was awesome too, right? He didn't get mad or yell. He just walked out, calm as can be, and asked what was wrong. That's another kind of strength, staying cool when everyone else is losing it. Tom knew Max was a good dog, and he knew I was a good friend. He didn't need to make a big deal out of it. He just said what was true, and that was that. It's like he and Max were a team, even now, showing Karen she didn't stand a chance. So yeah, this whole thing with Karen and Max, it's a story about strength, but not the loud kind. It's about the quiet kind, the kind that lasts. Next time you're in a tough spot, think about Max snoozing on the porch, or me smiling while Karen yelled, or Tom sipping his soda like it was no big deal. You've got that strength in you too. You don't need to prove it to anyone, it's just there, waiting for the right moment to shine. Alright, one more time, what's your story? Has someone ever tried to boss you around like Karen did? Maybe a kid at school, or a grumpy neighbor, or even a teacher who got it wrong. Drop it in the comments, I'm super excited to read what you say. And don't forget, more stories are coming. Keep being awesome, and I'll catch you next time.